Have you ever wondered why, no matter how much love, care, or understanding you give, people always seem to take more and leave you emptier? This is not an accident. This is not just bad luck in relationships. This is a pattern, and CarlJung warned us about it. Empaths, those who feel everything, who absorb the emotions of others, who cannot turn away from suffering, are often the easiest prey for the most dangerous kind of people. These are not always obvious villains. They are not always narcissists in the classic sense. Sometimes they are the good friends, the charming leaders, or the broken souls who always need saving. But beneath the surface, what they are doing is simple. They are feeding on your light. Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But what happens when one is transformed while the other is merely drained? This is the silent epidemic of empaths. They believe that to love is to give, to help is to sacrifice, to heal is to carry burdens that do not belong to them. But Jung understood something terrifying about this dynamic. Those who give endlessly, without boundaries, become hosts for psychic parasites. These parasites do not take your money, your possessions, or your time alone. They take your psychic energy, your will to live, your light. And here is the cruelest part. They do it with your consent, because you confuse pity with compassion. You confuse sacrifice with love, and you confuse being needed with being valued. This is why Jung insisted that we must confront our shadow. The shadow is not only the darkness within ourselves, it is also what makes us blind to the darkness in others. Empaths project their goodness outward, assuming everyone else is equally sincere, equally fragile, equally worthy of trust. This is the trap. The taker does not need to deceive you with lies. They only need to let you deceive yourself by believing they are who you imagine them to be. And once you believe, they can drink from your soul endlessly. You may not notice it at first, but slowly your body grows heavy. Your mind feels fogged. Your willpower dissolves. And yet you stay, because you believe it is your duty to heal, to save, to endure. But Jung's warning was clear. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And this is the final warning to empaths. If you do not claim your own self, your own shadow, your own will to live, someone else will claim it for you. This is not kindness. This is enslavement. And unless you wake up to it, you will spend your life drained by others, wondering why the world feels so heavy, never realizing it was your own light that kept them alive, while you slowly faded into nothingness. Ask yourself, why is it always the most sensitive souls who end up being drained? Why do the most empathetic people attract the most manipulative ones? CarlJung gave us the answer. Though few truly understood its gravity, empaths are open vessels. They feel everything: sorrow, joy, tension, pain, but this sensitivity unguarded becomes a weapon against them. It is as if their nervous system has no armor. They carry no shield because they have convinced themselves that to shield is to betray love. And in this nakedness, they are exposed to the hungriest forces of the human psyche. Jung wrote that the shadow, the hidden, repressed side of our personality, always seeks expression. For takers, this shadow appears as an insatiable hunger, a will to dominate, manipulate, and control. For empaths, the shadow is different. It is their repressed selfishness, their unclaimed power, their denied anger. They deny it because they fear becoming like the others. But what is denied does not vanish. It attracts. This is the law of projection. An empath who denies their own power unconsciously projects it onto others. Suddenly the taker seems larger than life, more dominant, more commanding, more certain. The empath bows, obeys, and gives, because they see in the taker what they cannot claim in themselves. And here lies the cycle. The taker projects weakness to be pitied. The empath projects power onto the taker. The taker drinks and the empath bleeds. Jung understood that every human relationship is at its core an exchange of psychic energy. Conversations, emotions, intimacy, they are all currents of energy flowing between souls. But what happens when one side only gives and the other only takes? It becomes vampirism. Not in the mythic blood-drinking sense, but in the psychological sense. Energy vampires are real. They live by feeding on the vitality of others. And empaths with their open channels are their perfect prey. Notice how it happens. You listen for hours, but no one listens to you. You sacrifice, no one sacrifices for you. You forgive endlessly, but your mistakes are never forgiven. This is not love. This is parasitism, dressed as intimacy. And Jung would say the true danger is not the vampire, but the empath's refusal to confront their own complicity. Why? Because every empath secretly enjoys being needed. Every empath in their shadow wants to be the savior, the healer, the indispensable one. This is not pure kindness. It is ego disguised as selflessness. But when the fantasy shatters, the truth emerges. You were not a savior. You were a supplier. The vampire did not admire your light. They consumed it. This is why Jung's process of individuation is so vital. Individuation means becoming whole, owning both light and shadow, both kindness and power. For the empath it means this: you must stop giving away your strength to those who never intend to return it. You must see clearly that not everyone deserves access to your soul. Because the final truth is this: your light is sacred, and if you refuse to protect it, there will always be someone waiting in the shadows, eager to claim what you will not defend. Look around you. Entire societies are built on the backs of empaths. The kind-hearted keep systems alive, while the ruthless feast on their sacrifices. The sensitive hold the burden, while the powerful drain them dry. CarlJung warned us, when people refuse to integrate their shadow, they become slaves to it. What does this mean for empaths? It means that if they do not awaken, if they do not embrace their own darkness, they will forever be ruled by those who have no hesitation in exploiting them. This is why corrupt leaders rise. This is why manipulative lovers thrive. This is why the most caring, giving people are often left broken, bitter, or hollow, because they confuse endurance with strength, because they confuse martyrdom with love, because they never ask the most terrifying question:
who benefits from my suffering? The answer is always the same: the feeders, the parasites, the ones who thrive in your silence, your exhaustion, your inability to say no. And here is the most unsettling truth Jung forces us to confront: the feeders exist because you allow them to exist in your life. The vampire survives only if the host refuses to awaken. So what must the empath do? First, see the shadow. You are not just kindness. You are not just light. Inside you is rage, power, selfishness, sovereignty. To deny this is to live only half a life. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Second, withdraw your consent. Stop giving your light to those who refuse to honor it. Every time you stay silent when you should speak,
Every time you forgive what should never be forgiven, every time you give to someone who only takes, you are signing away your life force. Third, transform pity into discernment. Compassion does not mean self-destruction. To love others does not mean to hate yourself. Real compassion has boundaries. Real love has strength. If your love leaves you empty, it is not love. It is exploitation. And finally, stand sovereign. This is the individuation Jung spoke of, not dissolving into others, not carrying their burdens, not being their endless well of energy, but becoming whole within yourself. When the empath awakens, something shifts. The feeders panic. They no longer have access to the endless stream of light. They call you selfish. They call you cold. They call you changed. But you know the truth. You are no longer prey. You have claimed your shadow. You have claimed your power. You have become untouchable. And here is the ultimate irony. When you protect your light, when you refuse to be drained, you actually shine brighter. You radiate not because others feed on you, but because you finally stand in your own wholeness. This is the final warning to empaths. If you do not protect your light, the world will devour it. If you do not embrace your shadow, others will weaponize it against you. If you do not awaken, you will be consumed. But if you do awaken, if you claim your full self, you become what Jung called an individuated soul. And that soul does not beg, it does not bend, it does not bleed for those who refuse to rise themselves. It stands, it sees, it shines, and it cannot be drained ever again. If this message woke something inside you, don't let it fade. Protect your light. Claim your shadow. and step into your power. Subscribe now, because this is only the beginning of your awakening.